The mailman doesn't deliver on a Sunday.
If you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball.
Anthony for three. Bang! J.R. Smith. We just saw men fly. LeBron James with no regard for human life.
Cleveland! This is for you!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Coast to Coast. I am Ronan Gaine. Joining me as always, Chris Nambu. Thank you so much for making this podcast your first listen for NBA coverage. Remember, you're on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, let us know what you think. You're on Apple Podcasts, you're on Spotify. Make sure you leave that 5-star review. You do that and we keep producing that content. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the play-in race and the playoff race. It's come that time of year where everything feels like it means a little bit more. Teams that are good are going on runs. Teams that are struggling are looking over their shoulders, wondering where they're going to finish. Is it going to be in the play-in? Is it going to be in the 5 or 6 seed? We're going to be analyzing all that. But before we do, Chris, how you doing, man?
Yeah, pretty good. Had a tough week off last week. Thanks for rescheduling to today. You know, life gets a little busy, but we still got time to talk NBA. We got a great game last night. So I'm sure we'll be talking about Pelicans, but pretty excited, man. It's starting to get warm here. Are you getting warm in there in New York? We had like 60-degree day. It feels like summer already.
Yeah, no, it's getting toasty. It's kind of nice to have these days where it's warm and sunny, but the humidity is not there. You got to kind of enjoy these before it kind of takes that turn, you know?
Yeah, and another team that's heating up, Pelicans. Can we start with them when we talk fact or fiction here? Where do you want to start here? Because I'm super pumped to be talking about these guys.
We will. We're going to get to the Pelicans. First, I want to open up with the top dogs, the two number 1 seeds in each conference, the Denver Nuggets and the Boston Celtics. I think in most people's eyes, the two best teams in the NBA at the moment.
Easily. With
the Nuggets, look at them now, 47-20. They've won 5 straight. They're the 1 seed in the West, and that just means everyone be afraid. The one thing I remember, I mentioned this before the start of the season, like the one thing the Western Conference teams need to make sure they do is make sure that Denver don't have home advantage in the playoffs, because that gives teams some sort of chance. With Denver having home advantage, then I mean it's done. Like there's no chance for these other teams. It's going to make it so much more tough, and everything about them is just dominance and greatness. Whenever you watch them, like clutch time, they're the fifth ranked offense. They're the number 1 defense. Jokic and Murray always just make the right plays, and if it's not Jokic and Murray, it's MPJ, and if it's not MPJ, it's Aaron Gordon. There's always someone else ready that's going to make the play. You know, when you're facing Denver, someone is going to make the play that kills you and loses the game and wins the game for Denver. And obviously, there's only so many statements that they can win and make after winning the title, but look at the Lakers when the Kobe statue was unveiled. Nope, Nuggets win. When LeBron hits 40,000, nope, Nuggets win. They've beaten the Celtics twice. First team to win on the road in Boston this year. They also took down Miami the couple of times just to make sure that show everyone that what happened in the finals last year was legit. They take down the Warriors. The Warriors are on this great run of form. Oh, the Warriors are healthy again. They're actually looking like a team. Nuggets, no, sorry, you're still no close to us. The Nuggets they're just a winning machine, and I'm starting to get a bit worried that there's just no stopping them.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's been the feeling all season long, and what an affirmation to play against the Celtics and to do kind of the same thing. They don't change, and I think one thing I noticed too, I don't think we got a chance to talk about this on air. I'm sure there's plenty that's already been discussed, but one huge thing with them and the Celtics in that matchup is the Nuggets play at their pace, and the Celtics very often, they're so hard to keep up with because of their 3-point shooting. They're so hard to keep up with because of their defense, and the Nuggets match that all the way through. They are never hurried, and that's what you get when you get Jokic. And then defensively, like, it's insane to see how good they are. If you just look back a few years ago, and the Nuggets are starting to emerge, Jokic is emerging, Murray is really coming into his own, and the question is like, all right, these guys can really score, but they can't play defense. And then now you look at them today, and they can be in any game because their defensive rotations are so good. They got guys like KCP who are always going to hold it down, and they've just not wavered at all. They've not changed their game at all. We've seen teams from last season going to this season. Before that, I mean, look at teams like the Jazz, how they had evolved over the years. They didn't always stay consistently good like that. I mean, you just look at a team like the Kings last season, like how good they were, just coming into the season again, trying to repeat that. And you don't see a lot of these teams who have those like meteoric rises like continue that. But I mean, that's just how good this team is, man. That's probably the hardest part about sustained success is being this good and having teams come for you every single night and everyone knowing how you play as well. Like there's no secret how they want to play and what they do, but they just continue to do it at such a high level of success. And yeah, I mean, Celtics fans out there gotta be. I mean, worry is one word because it's a regular season game and you're thinking about a championship series down the road. But I mean, really, the Celtics threw everything they had, and to beat a team like the Nuggets, to beat Jokic, really.
Yeah, like let's switch it over to the Celtics. I mean, obviously they've got the best record in the league, 52-14. They've won 4 straight. They're the number 1 seed. They're gonna have home advantage if they are to reach the finals against anyone. It appears they are number 1 in offensive rating, number 2 in defensive rating. They have the 3rd best net rating of all time currently. They're first in 3-pointers made. They're 3rd in 3-point percentage. They're 3rd in 2-point percentage. They're very efficient with their shooting. They're first in total rebounds. All of that comes together, and you're thinking, this is a team that's gonna win a championship. But for me, I just don't see it with them. There's something with them that just doesn't make me believe. Those Nuggets games were a big sign for me of not why I don't believe in them to go and win this championship. The Celtics are a great team. A great team has not won the NBA championship without having that superstar, that guy, those guys capable of playing some hero ball in the right moments, probably since the 2014 Spurs, maybe the 2015 Warriors, if you want to count them. Playoffs last season, games decided by 6 or fewer points. The Celtics were 1-4. So far this season, in games decided by 6 or fewer, they're 11-10. In a lot of those situations, it's because their Celtics are blowing teams out and just completely destroying them off the floor. But when it comes down to those real close moments, I just don't believe in the Boston Celtics. And in the playoffs, there's going to be those moments. There's going to be those moments. Maybe it's against the Heat. Maybe it's against the Bucks, where they're in close games and they need to pull it out. And I just don't believe enough in their late game plays. I don't believe enough in Tatum to lead this team over the line. Kristaps Porzingis has been a little bit more unhealthy since the All-Star break, which is also a worry. But this Celtics team is a great team, but they don't, at this stage, they haven't shown their ability to really deliver in the clutch. Tatum hasn't really shown himself to be that guy who's on a level of like a Jokic or a Giannis or a Dame. And that's why I just don't think that they're going to go all the way this year. And remember back to last year, going into the playoffs, I know their record wasn't as good as it is this year. I know they have better players this year, but I thought they were at this level going into the playoffs last year, and they dropped off. In the playoffs last year, Jason Tatum's scoring went down and his assists went up. Jaylen Brown's scoring also went down in the playoffs. There is no way in hell that the Celtics' chances of winning it all this year go up by Jason Tatum's scoring going down and his assists going up. That cannot happen again. He's got to sustain and do exactly what he's doing this year, and also be able to do that a little bit more in the fourth quarter and in close games.
I don't know. It's really tough, and it's difficult to boil everything down to the point of, okay, do you have a go-to guy down the stretch? Because that conversation kind of it's pretty simple because it is kind of true. Like the Celtics have gotten away in regular seasons with being dominant in the team game, winning pretty much like in the middle of the third quarter. You know these Celtics teams have won, and they've done such a good job of like closing out these games and staying consistent in that way. But you talk about 7-game series, you talk about close games, clutch minutes, and I think that's why teams like the Heat, for example, like they don't look great in the regular season, but in those clutch minutes in the playoffs, like they find ways to win. And I don't know, I think the thing that I see specifically that you're seeing in terms of being convincing in those clutch minutes is that you're relying on a shot making from Jaylen Brown, or you're relying on shot making from Jason Tatum. If you're forcing everyone to play 1-on-1, and Kristaps being, if he's unhealthy, that's the point that scares me the most, because he's been such an X factor for how unbelievable they've been this season on both ends of the floor. And they did a great job by getting off of Rob Williams last year, because we clearly see how his injuries have affected him. But I don't think that they can win a championship without KP. To boil it down to like Tatum not being able to make shots late in the fourth, I don't know why it always just feels unfair, because it is true. But maybe they still need that lead playmaker. So in my mind, if Tatum is, if he is playmaking more, if he is, drawing a double and kicking it out, if he is playmaking in the pick and roll and he's making those advanced reads, I'm okay with that. Like, if that's how he evolves in the playoffs and getting away from just trying to be a shot maker there, because they really don't have like that go to give the ball and make the right play. They don't have their elite point guard type of thing. And I know the league has kind of gone away from that, so it's every team has a different style, so it's not fair to say they're incomplete because of that. But I don't know. I still think that Tatum still has that next level to unlock in terms of playmaking. And if he does that in the playoffs, I can see that leading to success.
I will say one thing that's important to note is that around this time last year, maybe it was a little bit closer to the playoffs, I did question Jokic and the Denver Nuggets as well. And look what they went and did. So maybe this is a good sign for Celtics fans if they're listening out there. Me questioning Tatum, me questioning this Celtics team. Maybe that's a sign that they'll shut me up and really go on a run going into the playoffs. There is time. Obviously, there is still room for them to have success. It's just that little worry. Tatum, obviously, he's still a young guy. Maybe this is the year that he really breaks out and really shows it. I'm not saying there's no chance that happens. It's just what I'm looking at so far this season is what's kind of nagging on my mind about why they might not win it all. And also just the greatness of the Denver Nuggets as well definitely plays into that side of it as well. But moving on to some of the more questionable contenders. Going to play a little game called Fact or Fiction. I'm going to lay out a few stats and facts about a few of the contending teams, and I want you to tell me, is it fact or is it fiction? Let's get started. The Sacramento Kings, right? The Sacramento Kings are being correctly slept on this year.
Oh, correctly. Okay. Correctly? Yes. Absolutely. I'm going to stay sleeping because it's no disrespect to them. Nice. That's a fact. I mean, their offense has just regressed since their historic season last year. Their defense hasn't improved. It's continued to be below average. And I don't know what we're supposed to wake up to. I mean, like we know what we believe in with them, and we can be confident that, Fox and Sabonis, that's one of the best 1-2 punches in the league. Their supporting cast, the way that Malik Monk has been one of the best 6 men in the league, great. But they just they're 20th in defensive rating, giving up the second highest 3-point percentage. And you just don't see them consistently put together good stretches. It's you win 3, lose 2, win 2, lose 2. And I just don't have faith that, anything's going to drastically change until the playoffs. And I think we're going to have some great series with them. The way that they're going to be offensively explosive in the playoffs, that's going to continue. And I think Fox, if you have Fox on your team and you're in those late game moments, like that's the kind of player that, you win a playoff series because of. So is that sleeping on them? No, I still think they're there. They're there and they're going to be a dangerous playoff team. But I think that people have kind of figured out who they are, and they haven't improved last year to a point where teams are worried about them. Fan bases are worried about them. I'm worried about other teams, not the Kings.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Kings is if you look at their record against the best teams in the West, that's where you kind of have hope for them. Obviously, they've dominated the Lakers 1-4-0. The Sabonis, or AD is Sabonis' bitch. The Nuggets, they're 3-1 against the Nuggets. They're 2-1 against the Thunder, 2-1 against the Wolves. They split series with Warriors, with Suns. They're down 1-2 against the Clippers. It's just the Pelicans where they have no hope. They're 0-4 against the New Orleans Pelicans. But that side of it, you're looking at it and you're like, wow, maybe there is something with this Kings team. Maybe they just have that they're that good matchup for some of the better teams. But then they win that game, they'll beat the Lakers, they'll beat the Nuggets, and then they'll go and lose like to the Rockets and to the Jazz and something like that. And that's just, they've done that so much that's what you focus on. And I think that's the right way to look at it, because in a playoff situation, you just don't believe that their defense is going to hold up enough to take down any of these better teams. If they can find a way to play the Lakers in the first round, which I don't think is possible with the standings, yeah, maybe they've got a shot. But outside of that, the fact that they didn't win a playoff series last year, it's kind of hard to say, oh, they're definitely going to win one this year, given that they're probably not playing at the same level. Does Sabonis' game hold up in the playoffs? If it does, that gives them a bit of a better shout of winning a series, depending on who they go up against, depending where they finish off. I think they're tied for 6th at the moment with the Phoenix Suns. If they're playing who's like the 3 seed, Minnesota, the Clippers, something like that in the first round, maybe they could give them some trouble. But Sabonis' game is a question mark. Their defense is a huge question mark, and I think it's probably right to sleep on them and just see if they surprise, they surprise. But I think it's most likely we're going to see them be a first round exit again this year.
I mean, if they're facing any of those teams, it's going to be an uphill battle, and I really wonder how teams are going to face Sabonis, and if they're going to do the same thing the Warriors did to him, which is, I mean, you just literally leave him. If they play the Warriors again, I think that probably we'd see that happen. But if you just leave him wide open, you really take away their off-ball cutting, and you force him to be the guy and just score everything, focus on everyone else. Like, that was such a drastic measure that really kind of disrupted them, and it worked. I mean, that really forced them to seek different ways of playing. So there is we've seen a formula. That's why I'm sleeping on them too. Like, there's a formula proven that disrupts what they like to do on offense. So yeah, I'm gonna stay sleeping. Kings, I mean, they're still fun on offense, but haven't seen big changes to convince me otherwise.
Sure. Now here's a wild one. The Suns are the biggest threat to Denver in the Western Conference. Fact or fiction?
No, that's fiction. That's fairy tale. That's no. And it's clear. I mean, we were just talking about having the best player. So anyone can make the argument, hey, you got Durant, you got Booker, you got Beal as your third option. Like, offensively, you can go step to step with anybody in the playoffs. And that's not untrue, but when we're talking about Denver, that's a different beast. That's a very different beast. And you need to have the defense to even just survive. And if you look at it, you mentioned the Rockets a minute ago as like a team that a bad team that the Kings would lose to. But the Rockets have the best record against the Nuggets, have looked the best against the Nuggets in such an ironic way, that a team that's really folded the second half of the season. They showed a lot there. But another team, the Thunder. The Thunder has the second best net rating against the Nuggets over the course of the season. Sample size alert. But we just seen how they have the defensive personnel, and they have the different looks that they can throw at the Nuggets. They can switch. They have multiple versatile bigs to kind of throw around, throw in the paint. Chet is there protecting the paint, and they have different ways to challenge them. And they got Shea. They have that number one option. So they have, I think, way more of an argument than the Suns, if we're just talking like who's actually the biggest threat. And Suns are a threat, but in my mind, not even close. I would pick Thunder, T-Wolves, even Clippers before I'm picking Suns.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. So you're saying fiction on that. I think I'm somewhere in between. I'm tempted to say fact, purely off of the fact that in the 4 games after that Thunder loss that the Suns had, I was in work and I was talking to some of the guys, and I was going off on how KD never steps up in the clutch all season. He becomes a pedestrian. He's there looking on all the offensive plays. The only shots he puts up are tough contests at the rim, which he ends up missing. And then they play the Nuggets, the Celtics, the Raptors, and the Cavs. And oh, look, all of a sudden KD goes, oh shit, I better be the guy. I better start doing what I do. Better show the reason why I get paid the money I get paid, because I'm an elite offensive player and I can make shots on anyone in any situation. And he went and did that. They've lost a lot of games in the fourth quarter, and I think that's down to KD not being aggressive enough, not going, give me the ball. I will show you how this is done. But if he does that, then I start to believe in them. If he just says, right, they're the best option for this team. If we're in close games, if we're going to win in the fourth quarter, give me the ball and I'll put you guys on my back. The big three have only played 26 games this year. They're 16-10 in those games, which is not overly impressive. But think if they had played maybe 10, 12 more games together, I think you can give them 5 or 6 more wins. And that has them right in the mix for the top seed in the Western Conference. Yeah, it's not as simple as that, but if they're playing and KD is being that guy, in terms of the scoring that they offer, that's going to win them a couple of games. That's going to maybe win them a series, not maybe against the Nuggets, maybe in the first round. Just the scoring punch that they can provide, the shooting that they can provide. The worry is that they're kind of like a 7-man rotation. They're kind of going to really need Bol. I know he's such a wild card. He's kind of the only guy outside of their like 7-man rotation of like Allen, Beal, Booker, KD, Gordon, and O'Neal, and Nurkic, that like you think, oh, maybe he could offer something as a role guy in the playoffs. If he can be somewhat respectable, that kind of helps. That helps them a little bit, but I just think that the scoring punch that they provide, it gives them as good a shot as anyone. Not that I really think anyone has a legit shot.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking at KD. You mentioned it. At KD's clutch scoring, he has 92 clutch points, which is 11th in the league, shooting 36% from the floor on those shots. That's below Banchero, below Shea, Mikal Bridges, Fox, Trey. The list goes on, but he's definitely not had his shot going late in the fourth quarter this season. And
I think the thing is, it's not even just his shot going. It's the fact that in lots of games I watch, he doesn't take the shots. He's just like a decoy on the offensive side of the ball, and that's when I'm like, God damn it! Like, step up! Like, you're the guy here. Do it.
I mean, that's kind of the point, though. I mean, I feel like he is supposed to be a decoy on this team at times. Like but this is Devin Booker's team. This is Devin Booker's team, and I really don't. I would want to see Book be the one who's aggressive here. I think KD, like, he's the best. If that is your decoy for the Suns,
Yeah, it's a
decoy,
great decoy, but at the same time, they've lost so many games in the fourth quarter. They've gone down so often. If so,
it's because they
let's
can't
say
protect the
Booker.
lead.
Yeah,
Okay,
but they also don't make enough shots.
I
But they're
know,
not
and
they're
it's
not horrendous defensively. They're the 13th ranked defense. That's not as bad as you would think with them. And like some of the teams that they've lost the leads to is where you worry. Like they haven't just lost leads to good teams. They haven't just gone down against good teams. They've gone down against a few bad teams as well and lost in pretty dramatic fashion. I get it. I think the defense is obviously more of a worry. That's like what it always comes back to. As much as we have too much offense in the NBA today, everything about winning and competing comes down to defense. And yeah, maybe you're right. In the biggest moments, it's the defense that doesn't hold up enough, and it's not the offense's problem. But I just still think that KD is at a level where he cannot be a decoy.
I know, but like I think the whole advantage that you have when you have Book out there, you have Beal out there, you have Durant, is that you can react to the defense. Like who are they loading up on? If they're loading up on Durant, like I don't want Durant. There should be zero situations in a clutch situation where Durant is taking a contested mid-ranger. The whole point of having those three guys on the floor is that you force defenses to react, you force them to send help, and you get a good shot. I mean, that's what that should create.
That's okay if he makes the play. I want him touching the ball.
I know
He gets get touches.
Yeah, I mean that is true. I mean, if you don't see KD getting a touch late in the fourth, that is frustrating. And I think that is a tough part of not having everyone on the floor for the whole season. I mean, that's been this story as old as time with all of KD's teams over the past 5 years is continuity. And that is very difficult for these three primary scorers to find a flow late in the fourth and figure out like who's prioritized. And maybe that takes more time. Maybe that just takes the spur of the moment in the playoffs. But I don't think just feeding it through him. I think Book is better. I'd trust Book as a better playmaker to want to take it through him, and that's tough for Book. I mean, and Book has responded. Like, I think he's been great as playmaker this season, and I would just continue pushing it through him.
Yeah, fair enough. The wildest part of it all is that KD's been the healthiest of the three guys throughout this season.
You just had to jinx it, huh?
Let's flip it over to the East. The Milwaukee Bucks will be ready for playoff success.
It's not non-fiction. It's not non-fiction.
I'm gonna say fact. I'm gonna say it's fact.
That's fact. That's
I
fact.
believe.
I'd say,
believe in the Bucks. I believe in the Bucks. They're 43-24. They're second in the East. Giannis and Dame are really starting to work together. I think we've seen that. Like, Doc made it clear him and Dame need to work together when he came in. They really need to start playing to each other's strengths. They really need to start working together and become this elite duo we thought they were going to be. Hopefully that's ready to rock come playoff time. The defense is improving ever so slightly. That duo alone is going to be good enough to win them a playoff series. If Chris Middleton returns, that'll be huge for this team. Pat Bev has had a really, really positive impact on this team. To write them off would be a massive mistake, in my opinion. Just based off the fact alone that Giannis and Dame lift their game when we get to the playoffs. I still think that this team is going to be ready to showcase their best basketball when we get to playoff time.
I don't know. I can't say fact or fiction. Like, maybe this is a nonfiction adaptation. This is a fictional adaptation. I don't know. It's somewhere in between. I have no tangible evidence, man. Where's the evidence of them like being consistently good on defense? And I don't think this is hey, we're just saving it for the playoffs thing. It's not. Like, you have 2 defensive player of the year candidates on your team. Like, you have Brook Lopez and you have Giannis. You have 2 guys that could be those kind of level players. And there's a very real reason why their defense is not good. And we've talked about it time and time again. And we see Dame get attacked on the perimeter time and time again. We see Malik Beasley. And we see that there's just a lack of defensive playmakers. And they're dead average right now. Dead average. And is average good enough for playoff success? And when I say playoff success, is the Bucks are trying to win a championship. That they are in a different priority zone than other teams that we just talked about. It's not, hey, let's win a playoff series or 2. Like, they are championship or bust. And I feel like the crazy thing about Dame, and this is just big picture, that I think about when I think about like if they're gonna get better in the playoffs, is that I don't see where Dame is gonna get better. Like, he's still taking the same shots. Like he's having the same shots that he had in Portland. Like, and he's getting his fair share. His pick and roll still looks good, but his efficiency is just dipped, and that just happens. And that, unfortunately, that just happens to players as they age. I don't know if this is the moment for him. It's just a comfort thing. Who knows? But he is not the same scorer that he was in Portland. This is not, like, no one's talking about this, but Dame is not like Portland Dame time. Like, that is a different guy right now. And we're just assuming he's going to come out of nowhere in the playoffs. Maybe he does, but I have no evidence of that happening. And then that just makes me think big picture. The loss of Drew Holiday, man. If Dame doesn't just emerge in the playoffs and become like who he was, that truly elite shot guy. Like, he's shooting 35% from 3, and and he's shooting below that on his pull-up threes. He's shooting 40% on his pull-ups. His mid-range game has disappeared. His in-between game, which is a huge part of his success and just being completely unguardable at times in Portland. That is very concerning to me. Like, that has not changed over the course of the season. And that's why, like, playoff success, like, they need to have him do that in order for them to win a championship. There's no Drew Holiday who's, I mean, really, like, the fact that they've sunk this far from losing that level of defender on the perimeter, like that speaks volumes to how teams are built on such little margins. Because this is a very different team last season. We just saw them go through 2 different coaches, and I think ultimately we're gonna keep getting the same iterations of a average defense because of how bad Dame is on the perimeter, how bad Beasley is on the perimeter. And I mean, they got guys like AJ Green out there. He runs around, he does his best, but they don't have a ton of truly good perimeter defenders anymore. I don't think that they're ready for Bucks level of playoff success.
Yeah, that's fair. I think the Dame point definitely rings true. My only thinking is like history has told us so far more that he's still capable of taking it up that notch when we get to the playoffs, rather than that this is the moment where he's going to drop off. Maybe if this continues in the playoffs, maybe it'll be a time where everyone kind of sits back and goes, ugh, this doesn't look so good. The biggest thing with the Drew Holiday loss is the fact that he ended up with a Eastern Conference rival is definitely the real big blow for the Milwaukee Bucks. I feel like it wouldn't hit home as much if he was not with the Celtics, even if he was in the East. But the fact he's with the Celtics and like if he was in the West, I don't think you wouldn't think about it as much. They'd still be feeling that loss, but you definitely wouldn't think about it as much. The fact that he's with the Celtics, that's really got to burn for Milwaukee with the way things have gone so far this year.
Yeah, let me put it this way: do you feel more confident in the Celtics defense stopping Dame, or do you feel more confident in Dame emerging and being who he was?
Celtics defense.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Drew Holiday. Even without Drew Holiday, I mean, what they have there, what they can do to guys like Dame. But again, it's a really tough threshold, because when we talk playoff success, it's a different definition for different teams. And when you got a guy like Giannis, who, to his credit, I mean, he's having probably his best year, and he's not really being mentioned as.
But he's the worst player in the league. Did you not hear him say that the other day?
What?
Apparently, he feels like he's the worst player in the league.
That's how, man. That's how it's really getting to him.
That's a real blow. That's a real high bar for the worst player in the league now, right?
Yeah, I mean but on a real note, man, like he is, alongside Embiid, alongside Jokic, like you do have who you could argue to be the best player in the league. It's real close. And when you have a guy like that, maybe it doesn't matter if Dame throws up a stinker, because Giannis just went out there, scored 40 points, defended your best player, and made some clutch plays. Like you're gonna win playoff series like that, and because you have a guy like Giannis. So that just makes me. It's funny because the loop just keeps going back to, okay, so why'd you trade Drew? Why'd you trade Drew? Why'd you trade Drew? Should have just kept it as it was. But buyer's regret. Moving on.
All right. The Miami Heat can always be good, but they'll never be great. Fact or fiction?
It's funny. I'm always defending the Heat on this podcast. Always. But maybe that's a fact this season. We've seen flashes, and enough flashes where I think a few weeks ago I was just talking about how beautiful their offense has looked when you don't have Butler out there and you're just kind of running a Duncan Robinson hero type, almost like Clay and Curry out there with their off-ball movement. You see stuff like that and you're like, wow, this team, once they get going, like they're going to be like one of those teams in the playoffs. And then you take a look at their record against good teams this season. They're 14-21 against winning teams, and they're 0-11 against top 5 record teams. And that 0-11 is a tough pill to swallow. But again, there's plenty of excuses. It's the injuries, and that's the main thing there. So no continuity. And again, show me the evidence. Can they be the best playoff team like they've been in the past? They still have the guys, so maybe. But the way they've played this season, it's hard to imagine that happening again.
Yeah. They're going to be good. They're a good team. They effectively overachieve every year almost, it feels like. But last year, as great as Jimmy Butler was, they took advantage of Giannis getting hurt in that playoff series. They've got the mental side on the Celtics. I think that, I know it sounds like such a minor thing, but that does play a big part in it. They've got that mental edge, I think, over that Boston Celtics team. Maybe we'll see that change this year, but so far it's like that. And then I see like just the roster they got, like the game the other night against the Nuggets on ESPN. They were introducing some of the players, and they see Jimmy and Bam, and I think it was JJ Redick goes, two elite two-way players. That is false. They are not two elite two-way players. Bam Adebayo is an elite defender who can be very good offensively. Jimmy Butler is a really good defender who can, mainly in the playoffs, be great offensively. But they are not two elite two-way players. That's just not. That's just a lie. It's false information. They are both good players. Jimmy Butler is not a Finals MVP. That's just simple as that. Jimmy Butler is never going to win a Finals MVP. They need more. If you want Jimmy to be your leader, you want him to be the heart of the team, the best two-way player on the team, yeah, that's fine. But he is not going to be that difference maker that ultimately brings them to the glory that they want. The success that they always had, they need that difference maker. Wade, back in 06, he got Shaq. And then a few years later, after going out in back-to-back first rounds by himself, he got LeBron. And that was that difference maker for them. They still need that. Jimmy Butler is good. Jimmy Butler does great things. Playoff Jimmy, it's one of the greatest things about the NBA. But they are not going to be the best team in the NBA maybe ever with this roster, unless that they can find a way to bring a difference maker. Who that is, I don't know. But they don't have it right now. Props to them, they're doing amazing things with what they've got, but taking that next step is not there. Yeah, maybe they'll get back to the Eastern Conference Finals, maybe even go crazy and go to the finals again, but they're not going to win it all.
Yeah, I mean, that's coldest take of all time. That's yeah, true. Like it is really hard to win. Newsflash, is really hard to win an NBA Finals, but I'll tell you this much, and maybe they're not maybe they're definitely not the best regular season team. They never will be the best regular season team. But if you started the playoffs today and you put them against the Bucks, I'm not betting my house on the Bucks winning that series. If you put them against the Cavs, I'm taking the Heat. If you put them against the Knicks, I'm taking the Heat. Put them against the Magic, I'm taking the Heat. Put them against Pacers. Put them against even the 76ers with Embiid. I'm picking them against literally every single team in the Eastern Conference except the Celtics. But when you show me that matchup, I think that even Celtics fans will tell you like that will not be an easy series as well. That I'm just looking at the kind of guys that they've developed here. I'm not going to be surprised when you see performances from Jovic, from Hackes, and guys that you have not really been thinking of all regular season, but have shown that they are very useful in very specific situations. And when we talk about Eric Spoelstra, we talk about a guy that knows how to make the right lineup changes. He knows how to really flex the talents of his guys in ways that you didn't see in the regular season. And the fact that we've seen flashes of these players be very good, but maybe not consistently, I can't imagine that there won't be times in the playoffs where we're going to see that come together in a big way. Right, we're gonna see, somebody have their Caleb Martin moment, and is it gonna be against the Bucks, Cavs, whoever? Like I just look up that list. Like who are you taking really confidently over the Heat?
No,
like a team that's a 7 seed right now. Like I would take over literally probably most of these teams if I really had to bet on it, just because of what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, and like I think their X factor at the moment it is Eric Spoelstra. What he gets out of the team is scary. Like the adjustments that he makes. Like he is an elite winning coach, and that makes such a big difference for them. The main obviously my take was very cold, but when you think about it in terms of a team that has been to the NBA Finals twice in the last 4 years. And I really don't have any faith in them ever actually winning an NBA final series. Like that's when you start to think that's kind of wild for a team that's had the success that they've had, but they still feel like they're no closer to actually winning that chip. That's when you think about it in that sense, that's when it actually starts to kind of rain true a little bit more, and that makes it kind of maybe heat up just a little bit. But again, you are correct. It is so tough to bet against them, and no team will want to face them in the Eastern Conference. That's a fact.
Yeah, I just think about it. Think about what you just said though. They made it twice in the last 4 years, even in the last 5, even in the last 6. Like, expand that out. Like, that is success. And I think we're always. I think just big picture too. I hate that we're in general like always
It is
obsessed with
success, but winning is everything. Like,
it is,
have
and
that
that is
success,
winning.
have that
That
success,
is
but
winning.
they're not getting to that top level. Yeah, but if you
Yeah, they
win this
are. They
much,
made it to the
to
finals.
win this much, then you need to take the next step and win it all.
That
And they're
doesn't
not
always
going to do
happen.
that.
And I think
But that's got to be the goal.
it is the goal, but I think the whole point of that is that you get to the finals and you have a chance to win. You're not always gonna and look at all the teams that have went out and got that guy. And mostly that guy's been James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, whoever's getting passed around. When OKC tried to build their big three, all these teams that try to build just by getting that guy. How much closer did they get? The Miami Heat, with the guys that they've invested in, they've believed in, have got to the finals twice in the last 4 years because they are an amazing team, because they are built for success, and maybe they don't show in the regular season, but the fact that they do that, I think, is a way bigger success than probably any of these other teams who have gone out there and got that big splashy guy. That's who's that worked out for?
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's totally fair. And like the way that they've built up is so impressive. But I also would say I believe that they would be pragmatic enough and they'd make that deal. They'd make the right deal. Like, I believe that they'd get the right deal. Like, they held back and didn't get Dame. When that happened, it was questioned, and it was probably fair because when it happened, we were kind of like, now Giannis and Dame are like the best two players in the league. The Bucks are going to go off to this huge next level, and it hasn't really happened. Who is out there for them to get? That's the question I don't know the answer to. But my point stands is just that you have to find a way to take that next step.
Yeah, I think if you were to create like some sort of metric on like who's been closer to winning the finals, and like the Heat, the fact that they've been to 2 finals, and the fact that I can look and honestly say that I think their chances are still there to make it, like that goes beyond the success of the vast majority of the league and will continue to be, honestly. And I think just for me, it's the perspective that a lot of people have, that people are not happy with success. That's not a championship. And then that leads to so much disappointment. Like the Knicks are not going to win a championship with this team. They're not.
How dare you?
They're not. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But the Knicks are such a good team that I honestly think I can make a similar argument for them that, if they're going to be healthy in the playoffs, really knock on wood, like I could expect for them to have a chance, And that is, in my mind, like success. And it's like, if they don't do it this season and then next season they don't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and then they don't make it to the like, was that an unsuccessful team? I sound like Giannis now. Like, what is success? But it's something that I feel like takes away from like the enjoyment of fans who are fans of like good but not great teams. And I think the Miami Heat are like, they are the poster child of the good but not championship team, like great but not championship team. And just because if they don't win a championship, like this season, next season, I still think that this iteration of the Miami Heat is something to be celebrated, even if they didn't get a ring out of it.
Yeah. Okay. I knew you were gonna fight me back. I knew you were gonna stand up for your Miami Heat. But let's get on to let's move on to my final point. With Mr. Clutch, DeMar DeRozan, the Chicago Bulls have the best chance of coming out of the play-in.
This isn't a biased response, but I think that's fact. That's fact. If if we're talking about them facing the Hawks, and honestly, I would expect it would be either Pacers or Magic, even if we're facing the 76ers. The fact is, if the Bulls get into a clutch situation with DeRozan there, they have a 21-14 record, which is insane to me that all of their games are so close. All of their games are like coming down to the line that they've played in, what is it, 30, 35 games. But just looking at what he's done, he's leading the league in box plus minus in the clutch. He's plus 76. The Bulls are up 76 points with him in the clutch. That also speaks to how many games that we have to be fighting that. But I'll go beyond that, though. DeRozan, undoubtedly most clutch player in the league. But it's not just him. It's Kobe White. You've seen what he's done. He's leading the league in plus minus in clutch minutes. And it's not just the shot making. He's leading the league in assists. He's leading all guards in rebounding. And that you could, if you've watched any Bulls clutch minutes, you can picture Kobe White grabbing a rebound, racing down the other end of the court, setting up someone on the perimeter. Someone like, I don't know, Alex Caruso, who might be actually the most clutch player in the league without scoring. I mean, this dude is shooting almost 50% on his threes on high volume and clutch minutes. And he's dude, this is the greatest part. Alex Caruso is leading the league in blocks and steals by a million miles in clutch minutes. I mean, he's more than Giannis, more than Brook, more than Chet, more than Wemby, more than AD. Like, if you just put those three together and look at how Vooch has also been a really big positive in clutch minutes, like those four guys, when they're on the court late in the game and you need to win, like you have DeMar DeRozan, you have the defense there, you have elite playmaker now who's really outracing everybody. I don't see why the Bulls couldn't come out of the play-in. And I guess that'll just be our grand prize for another mediocre season. So I'll take it. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, the worst thing is I hate that Caruso is on a team that are struggling like the Bulls are. He should be on a legit competitor. He is that level of player. He's that impactful of player. He should be on a team that have legit chances of going to the finals. I think the Bulls will come out of the play-in. They're going to be home to the Hawks. I think they'll take care of them. Then they're going to have a one-off game. I think they could end up going against 76ers. I'm going to be surprised if Embiid comes back. And even if Embiid does come back, what Embiid is going to come back. So I still don't have that much faith in the 76ers. And it's just that idea of the one-off game, the one-off moment, not a series, just one-off game. I look at the individuals that are going to get the win, and then I think the Bulls have got that best chance. I don't see the Pacers really, unless the Pacers get red hot. But the playing games are going to slow down a little bit. There's going to be that bit more tension, and that's when you're kind of turn and think, without Halliburton really being that guy that he was the first half of the year, you're going to take the Bulls. And with DeRozan, clutch play, only Curry has more clutch points than him this year. I think the only thing that's going to stop him from winning that clutch award is just the fact of the record that they're at. But at the same time, the only guy who's above him in clutch points is Curry, who's also down in the 9-10 spot as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what way that award goes this year.
Well, so some people brought that up, right? And I've come with ammunition. So he's got 165 points to DeRozan's 161. And DeRozan's played in 35 games that have included clutch minutes, and Curry's been in 34. To be fair, he's played in 40 more minutes than that. So scoring rate, Curry has it on him. But then we talk efficiency. DeRozan shooting 52.2% from the field. Curry 49. DeRozan shooting 50% from three. And this is actually an insane stat for in Curry's favor. He's taken 63s in those clutch minutes, and he's made 28 of them. He's nearly made half of his clutch threes.
Yeah, that's pretty good going.
And then you just look at the plus minus though, and my major takeaway is what DeRozan is doing and how he has to be defended, and the fact that he's plus 76, the fact that the Bulls are actually pulling these out and actually winning. I mean, Golden State is 18-16. They're almost 500. Barely over 500 in those minutes, and the Bulls are pulling away and winning most of these games. And the way DeRozan plays with it too, I'm going to take style into effect here, in that in these moments, yes, Curry's getting chased around, but he's getting screens from him. He's running around, and like the plays are set up specifically for him to catch an open shot. And a lot of these is Curry magic too. So I'm not going to say like, oh, he's got easy shots. But the pure difficulty of DeMar DeRozan going into double, triple teams, and for him to be playing the way that he is in today's NBA, like that can't be understated for like why I think like he's the most clutch player, because like everything he does is just so difficult. Like it's just insane. So
I agree. I hope he wins the Clutch Player of the Year. Just it's something minor, but it'd be a nice bit of recognition for how good he is, and also since the start of February, he's averaging 27 points per game. He's really gotten hot, and I think that's going to continue for the rest of the season. So it's a small thing, that award, the Clutch Award, but I think it'd be a nice bit of recognition for DeMar DeRozan to receive that award.
I'll take the Clutch Award for DeMar, Most Improved for Kobe, and we get to win an 8th seed and lose in 7 games to the Celtics. That'll be great.
Better than you thought it was going to be, right?
A little bit. How much better would we be with Levine? Maybe we'll see next year and run it back since everything's gone so well. I have one more fact or fiction before we move on.
Go.
The Pelicans can match up with any team in the West. Emphasis on any. Fact or fiction?
I'm gonna go fact. They've got great size, and they've got Zion Williamson playing like that unstoppable force that we always believed he was going to be, and that adds up to a challenger. I think they're in a great position to take the 4th seed off of the Los Angeles Clippers. They're only 2 games back of them. They've got the differential there, having won the season series. I think that's a fact. The Pelicans are playing at a level that I wasn't sure they had in them, but I also remember at the start of the season I said, Zion, you got to be healthy. You got to show us why everyone always says if the Pelicans are healthy, they'd be one of the best teams in the league. Since the All-Star break, they've taken it up a gear, and they're really starting to show that.
Yeah, I mean, case in point, last night, where Zion was obviously clicking. You weren't getting a stud performance from CJ and Ingram, but what we did see from Ingram is that late game shot making. You have a guy that if everything slows down and their defense is playing well, okay, well, Ingram's a plus 50% difficult mid-range shot guy. Like that guy is going to get you a bucket when you need it. And then you look at their depth. Like that's the beautiful part about watching the Pelicans when they're healthy, is that it's very difficult to see guys be on the same page and really flow when there's too many mouths to feed at some points. But Trey, Najee Marshall, Herb Jones, those 3 guys sharing they could legitimately be like heavy minute rotation players on any team, like 30 minutes a night type of guys. But they are just
that block by Herb Jones on PG last night. That was insane.
My God. They're like that, and that's the thing. They have all the cast to make it really big in the playoffs. They have those defensive playmakers. They have those they just are packed to the brim with wings. I mean, they could throw all their wings at teams like the Clippers, and Clippers kind of lose their big wing size advantage. I mean, it was hard for PG and Kawhi to score. They made it very hard on them. They did not have big games, because I mean they're still going to score their 25, but those 25 points that they're scoring, those are tough buckets. And the thing for Zion, he's in that zone kind of like Giannis, where if you're not doubling him and you're not really catering your defense and he gets going, you're not going to stop him. I mean, they really let Zubac just die out there last night, and it's just do your best. Try not to let him score, and they just refuse to really send doubles consistently. And Zion just got whatever he wanted. It didn't even matter. And when you have a guy like that on your team, Ingram can struggle, TJ can struggle, and the rest of when you have that depth, you're still going to survive. I mean, they just have so much going for them. And just looking at how they've been performing recently, they're 4th in net rating since All-Star break. and they're finally healthy. And I think that that's what we're seeing is that consistency. And they just have elite athletes, elite defenders, and Zion Williamson. You have that elite shot maker. CJ's really been one of the best catch and shoot guards in the league since he's really changed it up. Why not the Pelicans? They've shown it with health. I'm really bullish on them, and I think they're going to surprise a lot of people in the playoffs. And I don't think I see any teams where I'm worried about how they match up, especially when they got depth in the front court as well.
Yeah, yeah. Literally the only mark you have against them is that we've never seen this team in a playoff series. That's the only that's the only area of question that you have with them. But the way that they're playing, why should that be any problem? Maybe going in as this naive team that don't really know, maybe that can work to their advantage. And Zion, one last thing, he went coast to coast last night in 3.5 seconds. He went from one end of the court to the rim. He wasn't doing that back in December. The dude is it's probably wrong that it's taken him so long to get into proper shape, but at least he's doing it. And hopefully he's ready and rocking, and we're going to get to the playoffs, and we're finally going to get to see Zion and this Pelican team in a playoff series. And I am hella excited about that.
Yep. And it might be this preview. I think they're pulling away from the Kings. I don't think Clips are catching up to the Wolves. I think that's the preview we saw, albeit without James Harden. So super looking forward to that if that's what we get out of it.
Yeah, no, that'd be unbelievable. An unbelievable first round series, especially for a team like the Clippers, who we kind of have pegged, if healthy, as the ultimate challenger to the Denver Nuggets. They're going to get a big time challenge in the first round. I think it's going to wrap up Factor Fiction, but I do want to mention one more team in the Western Conference, the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, how are they doing now, Ronan, since you gave us that little 3-game sample size of them?
Yeah, I mean, like they've had like the worst defense of all time. Something around that mark. Close to it anyway, over like a 10-game stretch. Thankfully, they kind of pulled it out a little bit and went on that 4-game win streak. Obviously, went down without Luka to the Thunder the other night. I would just say with this Dallas team, forget Jason Kidd, forget the team as a whole. I believe in Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. If they end up facing the Suns or the Clippers in the first round, I wouldn't be surprised if the Mavs pulled out wins in those series. They are like the scoring they provide, the greatness of Luka Doncic it cannot be underestimated. And I know you're going to have questions about the defense and the team as a whole, but those two guys alone, I'm not going to push them to be conference finals or win it all or anything like that. But you would be very, very mistaken if you were to take this Mavs team lightly in a playoff series.
Okay. And now I need you to clarify what you mean by pull-off wins. Are they going to win those series?
Yeah.
Okay. That different story. Okay.
Luka Doncic is going to average a 40-point triple-double playing against the Suns.
I don't see it. I don't see it. Dude, they're barely five. They're barely. It doesn't matter, dude. They're barely 500 when Luka has 30-point triple-doubles this season. Barely.
Yeah, no, that's not good. That's really bad.
That's really bad. And their best lineup that we've seen, which is great. Like I really wanted to get excited about it. You know that this Irving, Doncic, Josh Green, who please, I hope he's healthy. He's been having such a great season. PJ Washington and Derek Lively. That 5-man lineup, super fun, right? Like 132 points per 100 possessions, like one of the highest octane lineups in the league right now. And you look at that and you're like, okay, you got 3 guys who are really good on defense. You can do a lot of things versatile there. They're still giving 118 points per 100. They're still a bad defense, and I still cannot understand it with the personnel you have out there. Gafford, that guy, he's not going to fix it. PJ is not there to fix it. And why do you think they're such a not bad, they're not a good rebounding team for a team that throws a lot of bigs out there? That tells you, and you see it on the floor, they're out of position a lot. Why are they out of position a lot? Oh, because Luka's letting anybody go by him. He's not fighting over screens. He's not playing defense. And
he'll play a bit more defense in the playoffs. I know it's probably not enough, but he will. He will play a bit more defense in the playoffs. And I also think Gafford will start.
Is it enough?
Gafford, yeah, maybe not enough. Enough with the offense that he provides. I think it can be. We've seen them win playoff series before. It's not like we haven't seen it before. It's happened before. Before the Thunder game, Gafford was 5-0 as a starter for with Dallas. I think maybe switch it up. I think they've been pushing to have Lively as the starter and not Gafford. I think maybe have Gafford as the starter and Lively as the backup.
Yeah.
Don't think
But
not
none of it
that
none of it
changes
changes anything.
anything
That's the thing, but
majorly.
it
But
doesn't change it. And like
in terms of the
it's
record, it does.
well, no, because that was pre All-Star break, so I don't care about that.
A couple after that too. He
But
already started. But yeah,
I mean, I'm really I love the additions they've had, and you see it, like especially offensively, like they are just so imposing with their size at times, and then you can't. And when teams have to react to Luka or Kyrie, you have all these bigs that are super athletic and can really punish you in the paint. That stuff's awesome, and I think that from an offensive perspective, yeah, you can win games, you can win a series. I can't continue to not be just kind of grossed out by Luka's defense. It can't keep happening, man. Because he is my favorite player to watch in this league. I think he is like arguably the most fun watch in the league. He's just so unstoppable when he gets hot, but he's just so atrocious on defense, and that is, I believe that is like the pivotal factor for why their defense is struggling and can't be better. Like they should not be literally the second last defense post All-Star break with this personnel that they have on the floor. That should not happen. That's unacceptable. And
that's fair. Fair.
And Durant, they're gonna be great, sure, but I don't think they're gonna move much further than the first round if that's how they're gonna keep going.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Got anything else? Anything else to add? Any other teams you want to mention?
I didn't get to get this one off about Jalen Williams.
Go.
Dude's just been on a tear all season. He's averaging 19 points, 4 rebounds, 4.5 assists in insane efficiency. 45% from the field, 45% from three, 54 from the field, 82% from the line, 1.7 stocks. Thinking back to the 2022 draft, where do you think he gets taken? I say he's arguably the number 3 pick.
Take me back to the 2022 draft. Now you're gonna have to take me back a bit there. Who? What draft class was this? Who was number 1?
So this is where you got Chet, you got Banchero, reverse order. Banchero to the Magic, Chet to the Thunder, Rockets, Jabari Smith, Kings, the controversial Keegan Murray, Pistons drafting Jaden Ivey, Pacers Matherin, Blazers Sharp, Pels Dyson Daniels. Like,
yeah, looking back,
Stohan
he's definitely not. He's not falling outside the top 5. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'd say the worst one out of all of these. Like all of those are fair. Keegan Murray, maybe it would have been tough to argue Jalen Williams then, but I think the worst one might be Wizards and Johnny Davis.
Yeah, well, that's the Wizards for you, right?
Yeah.
What do we expect Wizards to make a good pick? Come on.
I mean, the dude's he might be out of the league soon, but at any rate, Jalen Williams, he's approaching star status.
Yeah,
he's getting there.
Him and Shea as a 1-2 punch works tremendously.
Yeah.
Whenever I watch the Thunder, it's all Shea. Shea takes over, and then the start the fourth quarter, it's Jalen Williams running the offense, and he always delivers.
Yep.
Like that's the thing. There's no drop off.
Points per 36.
There's no drop off. He does that, and like he hits shots. He makes tough shots. He's the focus, and it's great to watch. Like watching them, I'm so tempted to really talk about them as literally like a top level 1-2 punch in this league. That's how close. That's how good they feel when you're watching them.
That's what I'm saying. They're it's not the Suns. It's not the Clippers. It's not the Wolves. This is the threat. It's the Thunder. The Thunder are the threat to the Nuggets, and I think I'm end on that. I mean, Jalen Williams, Shea, Chet. It's not news anymore because they've been doing it all season, and all these guys have grown into that. And when we come playoff time, I don't think anything's going to change. Nothing.
Yeah. Don't get out those Thunder just because they can't rebound. But it's getting hot. The NBA is pushing towards the playoffs. The best players are starting to show off. The best teams are starting to show off. as we get closer to it, we will continue to have you covered for it all here on Coast to Coast. But for now, that's going to do it. Thank you all so much for listening. Chris, thank you so much for joining me. Please remember that we are everywhere on social media at Coast to Coast NBA. And most importantly, remember to take every shot and love every moment.
Peace out.